Since my late teenage years, I have worked in more than 4 different Walmart stores. Though I admit that as an employee at a big store like Walmart, you're bound to see a lot of crazy things almost every day. There are 2 particularly terrifying experiences I had while working at Walmart that left me shaken. For my first awful experience, when I was in college, I got a part-time job at Walmart. That was the second Walmart store I worked for, and it wasn't much of a big deal for me because I already had the experience. Anyone who has worked at Walmart or any of those big stores will affirm that you don't have only one job as a mere employee. On some days, you could be assigned to follow and monitor customers while they shop, and on other days, you could be selling and attending to customers. Not to sound disrespectful or rude, but right from my first experience working at Walmart, I knew that not all people who look normal are actually normal. I had also heard many stories of crazy Walmart customers, but never experienced them. Until one evening. That evening, I was working at the cashier's desk when a young man in a hoodie with a creepy SpongeBob tattoo on his neck walked to me to pay for the things he had taken. This may sound silly, but it's true. After I scanned the stuff he brought and told him how much he needed to pay, he flipped and began to yell. At first, he was yelling because he believed the prices of things were so high. He claimed Walmart was ripping people off, and he could not believe the few items he took were that expensive. Seeing that the man was very loud and drawing the attention of other customers to himself, I asked him to lower his voice, and that's when he turned to me and began to yell at me. As absurd as it sounded, he blamed me for being part of the reason things were so expensive, claimed we were robbing people in broad daylight, and tried to get physical with me. Thankfully, security heard the commotion, and they came just in time to bundle him out of the store since he refused to leave peacefully. It was shocking and unbelievable that the prices of things at Walmart could infuriate the man like that. There are so many ways he could have handled things when he realized that the things he took off the shelf were beyond his budget, but no, he chose to vent his frustration on me. Now, if things ended there with the man just yelling at me and trying to attack me, I don't think I would have considered that experience as a horror experience, because things like that happened almost all the time. That evening, my shift ended at 9 p.m., and a few minutes after 9, I left the store. When I left the store, I didn't in any way think the man who had created a scene earlier would still be on the premises, because it had been more than 2 hours since the security had kicked him out of the store. I remember it so well. I was casually walking to my car that evening when I spotted someone from a distance walking towards me at a speed. It was so obvious he was coming to me because there was no one else there, and I seemed to be the only one walking to my car. As a 22-year-old boy I was then, believe me when I say that I was frightened. Because of that guy, I doubled my steps to my car, and thankfully, I got in and locked the doors before he got to me. As soon as he got to me, I realized it was the guy from the store. The first thing he did as soon as he got to my car was try to aggressively open the door, and when he realized I had locked it, he turned to my driver's seat and began to hit my window aggressively. Knowing so well that the guy was capable of following me home if I drove away, I called one of my colleagues who was still inside the store, and I told him that I was being attacked by the same man in the parking lot. Thank God my colleague told security immediately, and they ran to the parking lot. The part that really shocks me is that my attacker had the opportunity to try and escape when he saw security running to us, but he refused and kept hitting my window. When security finally caught him, they found a knife in his possession, and it was pretty apparent that he wanted to harm me with the knife. Shortly after, the police arrived, and the man was taken away. The most shocking part was the man had just been out of prison and was on the same charge of assault, except that he broke into his victim's house and tried to rob him at gunpoint. After that, I never saw that man again, and a month after the incident happened, I left that Walmart for another Walmart. Now, the second and most terrifying incident happened in the last Walmart store I worked at. I won't mention any locations or the town where it happened, but I'll tell you the whole story exactly as it happened. I had been working for that particular Walmart for about 2 months before the incident. Before this incident, there were a couple of instances where I noticed weird things happening. For example, after we closed the store by 11 p.m., I would restock and rearrange the shelves. But anytime I got to a particular aisle, I'd have a strong, eerie feeling that someone was watching me. Not only that, but more than 4 times, I saw shelves I had restocked and arranged suddenly get scattered. The weirdest part was that each time this happened, I would either be in the next aisle trying to restock other shelves, or down the same aisle, and by the time I returned, the shelves would be scattered. Now, if this happened on different aisles, I wouldn't have been worried and spooked out like I was when I realized that it was always a particular section on the same aisle that it always happened. Twice, I had asked my colleagues if they had scattered the shelves I had arranged, but seeing that the question didn't make any sense and would likely draw their attention to me, I kept things to myself. I never told anyone about the eerie feeling I had whenever I was working in that particular aisle, or the shelves that would suddenly get disorganized. After the 4th time the same thing happened, I stopped taking it so seriously, and would simply go back and arrange the shelves anytime I saw that they had been scattered. Since I was just a normal employee like everyone else, there were some days I would be assigned to work at the cashier desk, but most of the time, I helped in rearranging and restocking the shelves after the store had closed. On one particular night, I was standing on a ladder trying to arrange and restock the shelves in that particular aisle, when something suddenly pushed me. It pushed me so hard that I fell on the boxes on the floor. I can't remember screaming loudly, but my store manager and colleagues who were in the store that night claimed that they heard me scream, and they all ran to see what had happened. I told them that someone had pushed me while I was on the ladder, and it didn't make sense because I was the only one on the aisle at that time. I also used the opportunity to tell them about the weird things I had been experiencing, such as the shelves scattering on their own, and the eerie feeling I had whenever I was on that aisle. Just to be sure that I wasn't making up the stories, my store manager demanded to see the footage from security, and after hesitating for a while, security shared the footage, and everything happened just as I had said. Everyone literally saw an invisible force push my ladder, and I fell. Upon seeing that, we realized what had just happened. Security also opened up that they saw the garden door open and close on its own before I got pushed down from the ladder. It was such a terrifying night for all of us. Even though all fingers pointed to the possibility of the store being haunted, nobody wanted to say it. We later found out that before Walmart bought the building and turned it into a Walmart, it used to be a refuge for homeless people, and so many of them had died there. That night, almost everyone working that night shift resigned because of what they had heard and seen, including our store manager. Well, everyone except me. I had desperately been looking for a chance to see that the paranormal was real, and I got the opportunity to find out more.